Hey guys, welcome to my DIY channel. My name is Annalie, and in today's video we are doing some farmhouse DIYs with Twine because I am the co-host of an open challenge. Let's get right into it. For this first project, we're going to be using this wreath foam form that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and then these strands of rope, the nautical rope. This is actually the skinnier rope. I've noticed that there's two different diameters of thickness, and so this is the skinnier one. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to wrap this all the way around the wreath. And for this size of wreath, it took 4 full strands of the Dollar Tree rope to cover this. Once I was done, I took this little hello wooden sign that you can get at the Dollar Tree right now, and I went ahead and I gave this a good coat of white paint in the Waverly Chalk brand, and this covered really well. I also distressed it a little bit just to give it a little bit more of the dimension. I really like the look, the farmhouse rustic look that the dry brushing gives, so you will probably see me dry brush almost everything that I make. Okay, using my Cricut, I went ahead and I cut out these paper flowers. So it cuts out these circles for you, and then I just used some of these tweezers to clamp it in the middle, and then just wrap the paper all the way around until it's completely wound up around the tweezers, and then it's basically this little flower. You let it go and it releases a little bit, you play with it, put a little dab of hot glue on the bottom of the paper there, and then it will glue it in place, and it works really well. If you guys want a better tutorial on how I do paper flowers, I do have a Cricut video that I have put out that I can link here in the iCard for you if you guys want to see how I make those. Once my paper flowers are all done, I want to put some twine around the hello because I want to use as much twine as I possibly can because it is the Twine It Up challenge. So perfectly fitting, makes sense, looks cute, looks farmhouse. So let's just twine it up. Let's get everything twined up. So I'm going to wrap some jute twine all the way around this hello sign, and then also on the inner parts of the O and the E. All right, and this is how it looks almost completely done. I haven't done the insides of the O and the E yet, except for there we have. And so now we're gonna use some boxwood greenery that you can get from Walmart. And I just pulled off 2 sprigs, wrapped some twine around those to hold those together. And now we're gonna be gluing everything on to our wrapped wreath here. Once that was dry, then I went ahead and I just started gluing the paper flowers right there in the middle of this little boxwood greenery spray that I've made. And once that was done, we pretty much have everything ready to go and embellished. So I went ahead and I just took some black and white striped ribbon and I wrapped it around the top and tied it off with a bow, and that is our ribbon hanger. And that's it for this little farmhouse wreath.
Today's video is really special because I get to be the co-host of the Twine It Up Challenge. This challenge is hosted by Fanny from Creations by Favi. So make sure that you guys check out her channel. Please subscribe because this is her challenge and I'm so grateful that I get the chance to co-host with her. Make sure you guys check out her channel. I will have her link down below and there will also be a playlist link down below for you guys. This is an open invite challenge and she does this every month. Here are the rules, so make sure that you are using Twine. You guys make sure that you check out her channel down below or in the iCard. In the iCard, I never know which corner to point in, so in the iCard, whichever one it pops up in. And so she will be linked down below for you guys. Thank you so much to Fanny for letting me co-host, and let's get back into the video.
For this next project, we're going to be doing this little wire wreath form that we got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and get this all wrapped around the edges with some thinner jute twine right here. I wanted to cover up all of the metal that you can see, so I went ahead and just wrapped this around very, very tight. Just gave it a very thin layer, and I liked that it was so thin because it kept its like size, like it didn't look too thick and too bulky. It still looked kind of like a thin little wire circle, but it was covered in twine. I really liked the look of this. Once I was done, I went ahead and I gave the welcome part of the sign a layer of paint with the Waverly White chalk paint just to cover that up, and we're going to make this look a little bit more farmhouse, so a little less gold and a little bit more black and white. And then using some foam core board, we're going to be using this as our back part for this base. So I went ahead and I measured this out with 11 inch by 11 inch square. We're making an 11 inch by 11 inch square. And so I got this just cut out with a box knife cutter. And then using some contact paper that you can get from the Dollar Tree, I really liked the black and white and thought that it looked pretty and farmhouse, and so I went ahead and I just cut out an 11 inch by 11 inch square to match, and then just put this on the top. I like using this contact paper for this project. If you ever need to put this on foam core board, it goes on awesome. Like, I completely messed that up and I was able to peel that right back up and then put it back down, and I didn't have any bubbles. Once I put this against the contact paper though, the white part of the welcome just seemed very, very washed out. So I went ahead and I went over the white part with some black chalk paint in the color ink. And I feel like that helps it stand out a little better, but you'll see that it still needed just a little bit of help. So using some of that rope again to kind of match my other rope wreath project, I went ahead and I just glued this around for a border of our little sign that we're doing right here. And then using some burlap ribbon that you can get from the Dollar Tree, I went ahead and I just glued this on the behind the back part of the welcome sign just to kind of help that show just a little bit better and make it so that you could definitely see it. And then I went ahead and I got this all glued together. So I glued this down onto the center of our sign here. And then using that boxwood greenery again, I just glued this on kind of over here onto the side. And I let that dry. And then once that was dry, I used some of that thinner jute twine and I doubled this up about 3 times and tied a little bow. And that was it. And for our last project today, we're going to be using this sign that you can get from the Dollar Tree right now. They do have their 4th of July out in some stores, but on the back side, I went ahead and I just gave this a coat of Waverly White chalk paint, and I let that dry really well. And then using my Cricut, I went ahead and I cut out a black vinyl decal. This is the contact paper that you can get from the Dollar Tree right now in the crafting section. And I was very impressed with this transfer paper. It worked so well. I have not tried their vinyl yet. I purchased some, but I haven't tried it. But as for their transfer paper, I definitely can vouch that it worked very well. So I got this cute little saying. It says stay a while. And so I went ahead and I put this onto the sign, and then just to kind of change it up a little bit, since this of course is the Twine It Up challenge and I need to do twine on all of my projects. Here in just a second you'll see that we're gonna do the bottom part, the second word in twine. And so I put the vinyl down to use it as a kind of like a stencil, like a guide, but I thought that it was okay if the black showed around the twine just a little bit, because it helped kind of make it pop off of the board still. But I went ahead and I just used some jute twine and some hot glue, and then I just followed the black vinyl. This actually stayed on really well. I didn't know how the vinyl would hold up under the hot glue, and it did fine. It actually worked out really good. So put this on, and this part was done and ready to go. I actually love how this part of it turned out. It kind of just gave it some dimension. And then to dot the eye right there, I just went ahead and I tied a simple knot and trimmed the edges and then just glued that down, and it gave me a cute little dot. Using some scrap wood that I have laying around, I went ahead and I just cut it down to size with my chop saw, and then I painted the ends black with the black chalk paint by Waverly. And then using some wood glue and some hot glue, I just went ahead and I glued these on to the outer edges of my sign. And I did use these clamps that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I do recommend using these because if you ever glue your signs together, clamp them down, because it will help your projects just dry so much better. All right, and then of course we definitely have to dry brush. So taking a little bit of white, we go ahead and go around the edges here just to give it a little bit more farmhouse. And here it is. This is the end of the sign.
All right, guys. Hello. Thank you guys so much for those of you who are still here for the end segment. The end segment is just a fun part of my channel that I love to do to give you guys just a little bit more value and hopefully brighten your day, provide you with something uplifting. And so if you guys are just here for the DIYs, go ahead and shut it off now. But if you'd like to stick around, I promise it's going to be great. The end segment today is based off of a video that I will have linked down below for you guys. And you have got to watch this video. I'm not kidding you guys. It's one of those really powerful motivational videos that's just made really, really well. Like the music and everything is like the whole experience. Me trying to recreate this right now is going to be a very poor excuse of what you're gonna get from the video. So please be sure to go and click the link down below and watch that video. It's not very long. For those of you who aren't going to watch the video, I will give you, of course, the gist of the video. So the video is about a football player named Brock, and they have just finished practicing. They're on the practice field. They're all sitting down, and the coach walks up to them, and one of the kids on the team says, "So coach, how good is Westview this year?" And then Brock on the team pipes up and says, "A lot better than we are." And so then the coach looks at Brock and says, "So you've already written Friday night up as a loss, Brock?" And Brock says, "Well, not if I know that we can beat him." So then coach says, "Come here, Brock." And then he calls another kid up, says, "Come here, Jeremy." And he's like, what, am I in trouble now? And the coach says, well, not yet. And so they walk over there, and so the coach says to Brock, he says, I want you to death crawl down the field again. So a death crawl, I didn't know this, I actually had to like watch, but a death crawl in football is where you basically crawl on your hands and your feet. You can't use anything else. So it's almost like a push-up position and you're just crawling, okay? But he wants this other kid that he called to basically climb on his back. So he's gonna death crawl down the field with this kid on his back. And so he's like, I want you to death crawl down the field for me again. And Jeremy's like, Brock is like, okay, so what, you want me to go like to the 30-yard line? And the coach goes, I want you to go to the 50. And Brock's like, the 50? Like, that's a long ways. And he's like, I'm not asking you to beat it. He's like, coach says, I'm asking you to give me your very best. And Brock says, okay. So coach says, one last thing. You're gonna do it blindfolded. And he puts a blindfold over Brock's face. And Brock goes, why? Because I don't want you to give up just because you think you can't. Brock basically says, all right. So he gets down. And so the coach says, you're gonna give me your very best, right? And Brock's like, yeah. And he's like, your very best. Brock's like, yes, I'll give you my very best. And he's like, all right, I just want your very best. And so Brock's like, all right, coach. So he gets down. This kid gets on his back, and the coach goes, all right, go. So he's blindfolded. He starts army crawling out there. It's not army crawling. It's death crawling. And he's going, okay? So the coach is right there with him, and he's like, come on, Brock. Come on, Brock. And so Brock's doing good. Brock goes so far, and all of a sudden you just see him. He starts to tire. He starts to fatigue. It's the end of practice. And he starts to slow down. So Brock is like, you can tell that he's fatiguing, that he's wearing out, running out of steam. So then the coach gets down on the ground. He's like, come on, Brock, you promised me your very best, Brock. You promised me, let's go. Brock, let's go. So then Brock pushes through, and he keeps pushing through. So anyways, the movie progresses, the video progresses that Brock keeps going. And this is when like the music starts up, it gets like super inspirational. You kind of like want to start crying because you're so motivated, because this coach just keeps screaming at Brock saying, you promised me your very best, Brock. You can do this. You can do this. You got this. Come on, you've got this. Just pure coach, like hardcore motivation. And Brock is just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And the coach is like, you can, you promised me your very best. So anyways, this goes on. The team in the meantime is like standing up and watching this this happen, and you don't really see exactly how far he's going until the very end when the kid just collapses. And I mean, it's like, it's emotional. The kid just falls down and he can't do it anymore. And so the coach is down on his stomach with him, and he's like, so Brock's basically like, I can't do it. I can't do it, coach. I can't do it. And so the coach takes off his blindfold and he goes, look up, open your eyes, Brock, look where you are. And Brock looks around and he goes, you're in the end zone, Brock. You're in the end zone. You didn't even think that you could make it to the 50-yard line, and you're in the end zone. You just death crawled down a field with a 140-pound kid on your back, and you did this. He said, you are the most influential person on this team because you gave it your very best. You promised you would give it your very best, and you gave it your very best. And then it goes on. It's a little bit funnier. The kid's like, coach, I actually weigh 160. So it was even harder than what the coach anticipated for everybody involved. But Brock didn't give up. But Brock didn't give up because his coach asked him to give his very best. So the meaning, the powerful lesson here, we might feel like if we look at it and think, okay, I can't tackle that. It's too big of a task. I can't make it to the 50-yard line because that is too far. But if you give it your very best, if you have a positive attitude, if you try, and if you have a coach, it definitely helps if you have a coach that's like cheering you on and inspiring you, then you can surprise yourself and you are stronger than you even know. So the whole point of the video is about attitude, because Brock in the very beginning had completely written it up as a loss, right? Like the coach had even said, so you've already chalked Friday night up to a loss, because he said, well, they're better than us. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys too about attitude, having an attitude of gratitude, is recognizing negative attitudes. So there are several ways and things to have a negative attitude. One thing that is a negative attitude that if you can be aware of, it will help prevent a negative attitude, is expecting a negative outcome. That's a negative attitude. Expecting a negative outcome is a negative attitude. Like, that's completely negative. And he'd already chalked them up to a loss. He's an influential member of the team. He's the one that leads this team. I don't know what position he played, but he was one that they all looked up to on the team. And so the coach was basically like, this team looks up to you, and if you think that you're going to lose before you even go into the game, then everybody else is going to think that they're going to lose. The power of positivity is so strong, you guys. How many of you have gone to go to a party or to a family dinner or to a holiday, Thanksgiving dinner, and there's gonna be that family member there that you just don't get along with? So as you're packing your clothes to go down to Thanksgiving dinner, you're thinking, oh, so-and-so's gonna be there and it's not gonna be fun, and we're gonna have to listen to so-and-so talk about this, and we're gonna have to listen to grandma talk about that. And in your head, you're already having a miserable time, and you've not even left your house. You expect a negative outcome, and therefore you're probably going to get what you expect. You're probably going to get what you look for. So if you expect a positive outcome, then you will most likely receive a positive outcome. It seems so easy when you talk about it. I know it's easier said than done, but really there is so much power in positivity, and there's power in your brain. Train your brain to be positive, to think positive. This is what this whole video is talking about. I truly believe in it. I'm passionate about it. I get excited. I get excited about the stuff that I find and that I learn, and I get so excited to share it with you guys. And so I hope that you too find something, some inspiration. Hopefully somebody needed to hear this and know that positivity is powerful. Hopefully you guys can train your brains to be more positive. Hopefully you can catch yourself when you are expecting a negative outcome, and you can turn it around right there and tell yourself, you know what? I'm going to expect a positive outcome. I'm gonna leave you guys with this quote that I'll put here on the screen by Viktor Frankl. If you guys don't know who he is, Viktor Frankl was an Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, philosopher, author, and Holocaust survivor. Viktor had everything taken from him during World War II, during the Holocaust. Everything was stripped from him. They stripped him completely naked, and they took everything from him. And he had a woven band on his hand as a wedding ring. And when they took that off of him, that was his last physical possession that he had on his body. And at that point in time, when they had taken everything from him, this thought came to his mind, and this is his quote: "The one thing you can't take away from me is the way I choose to respond to what you do to me. The last of one's freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance." You guys, screenshot this right now and save it. Go back to it, refer to it often, because somebody who was in the Holocaust, who else in the world could honestly have like a free pass for a bad attitude than somebody in the Holocaust? And he still exercised his right and his freedom to have a good attitude. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know which project was your favorite and what you thought about the video, especially if you go and watch it. Let me know what your thoughts are about the video. If you guys would like more stuff like this, please consider subscribing. Give this video a thumbs up, and thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.